all this weight. So I was like, I'm going to start losing some weight.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day I was like, I'm just going to go watch Blade Trinity. It's out, so I'm going to go see this. And then I saw Ryan Reynolds in it. Then I read his diet. So then I just went on his diet, and I modified it because his was all like build muscle. But I kind of modified it. I ended up losing 50 pounds because of Blade Trinity. So that movie got me motivated to lose weight. So, because you can't, if you're not like, I don't know, like 250 was, benching 350 was cool. But
Yeah.
Like having a bum knee was not. So then, I don't know, that was like my motive. So Never Back Down, you did pull-ups. Blade Trinity, I just started working out and I lost 50 pounds because of that movie.
That's incredible.
It's weird how movies do that though. Like I guess that's just, they get you pumped up. And I could see how this movie gets you pumped up, but there's no, well, you know what's interesting about Limitless, right? You watch Never Back Down, and you can go work out and train MMA. You watch Men in Black, you can go get those Ray-Bans and then, you know, wear them around and be cool. You can watch like movies about writers and be like influenced, or movies about chess players and go play chess. But Limitless, what does it inspire people to do?
Yeah.
Like, does that, like, so you're like, all right, I'm going to go work out. But he doesn't really work out in that movie. So you watch it and you leave on this high and you're like, I got to go use my energy for something.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, I don't want to do drugs. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting, right?
I mean, it definitely, again, it sort of, it walks that line between being sort of a celebration, a fantastical sort of story about this guy that, you know, flies pretty close to the sun, and you never really get that sort of, you get a little bit of it, but you don't really get the payoff of that cautionary tale of like, you know, in the end, this guy probably, you know, it doesn't go so well for him. We just kind of cut out midway through the story. And again, I think that works here though.
Yeah,
I think that's what makes,
he drinks blood.
Yeah, you know, he certainly gets his hands dirty. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, he does.
But you know, that's what makes this movie fun. I really think that's what they're going for here, is that this is just it's a fun $40 million, you know, flick that obviously resonates with people. And yeah, I mean, it definitely resonated with me.
Yeah, it stuck with me. It was fun. There's no message to it, but you know that's what movies are good for sometimes. Like you don't always need a message. Like I watched the movie Evolution. I love that movie. I don't know if you've seen it. David Duchovny, Orlando Jones, Julianne Moore, Seann William Scott. It's one of the funniest movies that you could ever watch. But in it, nobody ever learns a lesson. Nobody becomes a better person. It's just a funny alien hangout picture, and that's what makes it rewatchable. And I think that's probably what makes Limitless rewatchable too, because he's never down for long. He loses Abbie Cornish, and he gets with Abbie Cornish. Then he loses Abbie Cornish. At the end, she's his back.
They are very on again, off again, all throughout.
But there's no like big breakups. There's no super down periods. He's not on the streets living his like worst life, and then he figures out he's better off without it. And then you get a training montage. You get him better. This is just goes through, ends. You're happy. You get some good Black Keys music. Everyone associated the Black Keys with that. That was in the trailer too, I think. That was, and that song was huge at the time because they had Howling for You.
Yep.
And like those songs. So you had the legit soundtrack, the good trailer, the like Hot Star, and then you just like dude was on a tear. He was in Alias too. I remember watching Alias. I was a big fan of that show, and he was in it. And I'm like, man, this dude Bradley Cooper's come a long way. Yeah,
from Sack Lodge and Wedding Crashers as well.
Oh man, that was the ultimate bro right there. But I think that's another reason why this movie works though, is it sometimes you just got to give viewers a Lincoln Lawyer. I know it's based on a book, but you got to give them a good murder mystery. Yeah, like tell a murder mystery in 2 hours. Sometimes you got to have a good dude becomes awesome on a experimental drug. It's cool. Like it doesn't need to go like I said again, Requiem for a Dream. I just like I really appreciate you doing this episode because it's fun to wrap my head around this movie, which I guess there's just not many like them, and it makes me kind of happy.
Yeah, I don't know, for whatever reason, it's one of those, and you and I seem to be on a similar wavelength with movies like A Never Back Down or this one, where it can be hard to sort of boil it down to its elements and figure out, like, what is it about this movie that appeals to me? What does it say about me that I love this movie so much? I'm not totally sure, but for whatever reason, this is one that I own on DVD. I saw in theaters, and, pull it out every once in a while and throw it on. And maybe you don't even get through the whole thing. Sit down and watch 40 minutes and enjoy it. And it's just a ton of fun, man.
You could watch this on TBS in between commercial. Like, so you come in, a commercial break comes on. It comes on for 20 minutes. You watch, you're like, awesome, commercial break. All right, I'm out.
Yeah.
But it's a good commercial break movie because there's a bunch of different areas to it. You can enjoy it all. And you know what's interesting, too, is he never gets his comeuppance and he remains successful and never back down. He's trained by Jaimin Hunsu to not use violence outside of school.
Right.
But at the end of it, he's like, listen, I got to go use violence because this dude's going to keep being a problem. And they're cool with it. And it's weird. I don't know. Maybe it's just different things speaking to us, but it's listen, I miss movies like this. I miss movies like My Big Fat Greek Wedding. I miss movies that can hold on into the box office, and they don't need $100 million to succeed in the opening weekend. But we're also living in a pandemic, and to keep theaters alive, I don't think it's movies like Limitless that will keep theaters alive. It's the big films. So you also have to be realistic. And listen, what Matt Damon said, I would 100% believe, because you look at Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, movies do get lost in the shuffle. And some very good movies get lost in the shuffle.
Yep.
But another neat thing is that we're getting so much content now that younger creators, more women are making movies. Like more, like people of color are making movies. Like, we're getting more diverse films than ever before in history because we have more platforms, and that I love. And when people talk about movies, cinemas are dying, we had the same 12 directors really not making these like wide, diverse fields of movies. Like, so I like where we're at right now.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I agree with Matt Damon, you gotta, like, you look at James Gunn. He's like, my movie Slither bombed in theaters, but it became a success on DVD and on TV. He's like, Jaws is a classic because everyone watches it on TV.
Right.
So we just, the cream of the crop rises to the top. Hey, look at that rhyme. So it's you make a good movie, people will watch it, and there's just more people making movies now.
Yep.
So I love it. I like, people talk about that they're getting superhero fatigue, or they're getting like fear of missing out because so much content's coming out. But this is like a movie reviewer's dream. I write about movies, and look how many are coming out. So it's a great time for me. So I think movies like Limitless are kind of coming to streaming.
Mm-hmm.
So have you seen Boss Level yet? It's like a Joe Carnahan. Oh, Joe Carnahan, Frank Grillo. It's a time loop movie where Frank Grillo is on a time loop every day killing people. So there's cool action pictures out there. There's Willy's Wonderland, which is, I don't know if I can recommend to many people. It's bonkers. But I don't know. I think there's a diverse amount of movies, but the days of Limitless coming into theaters and doing what it did.
Yeah.
It's rare, but I think we can still celebrate the ones that did happen. I don't know. Does that make sense?
100% it makes sense. I think you're exactly right. It's maybe the nature through which we maybe go to the movies or we see movies is changing and evolving, and it's the same thing with things like sports though too, right? Where like you're seeing these sort of paradigm shifts with technology and streaming and all the different cameras and whatever else that they have going on nowadays, and so the industry will adapt, I think, and I'm with you. I think that if there's a great sort of cult like classic like a Limitless out there, that people are going to find it, and there is still that word of mouth. I mean, more so than anything, the internet is the ultimate word of mouth, and we're going to hear about movies like this. If they're as good as something like this, and they're worth sitting down to watch, we're going to find them for sure.
And if you think about it too, when cinema started, the people who made the radio were really worried. Well, I guess radio's, but it's still around. But I guess that's a bad example. When cable came around, when TVs were invented in the 50s, movie theaters lost their minds because they lost a lot of viewers. Like, movies are dead. Movies kept getting made. Yeah. And then when video rental places started doing better, like Blockbuster, when they kind of broke away from those chains, oh man, people aren't going to go to the movies as much because they can just rent them. Movies kept getting made. when Netflix started streaming, when Amazon Prime started streaming, movies are still being made. So it's like cinemas. People love going to cinemas and watching films. Like it's just something to do. I think it's ingrained in the culture, and and at the end of the day, it makes money, so they'll find a way to make it work. And people have always been afraid that movies will end, but you just gotta like that. Smart people adapt. So I mean, just adapt with the times. Like Denis Villeneuve, I love him, but Dune's coming out.
Can't wait. Cannot wait.
It's like a 3-hour movie that's about $200 million to make.
Yep.
Okay, this sounds crazy, but it's never going to be a theatrical success, right? It's going to be a beautiful blockbuster that everybody loves, but at the end of the day, they're like, yeah, I probably lost $100 million.
Yeah.
But we need them, but I don't know. I don't know what point that was, but
I'm here decrying.
You gotta be realistic.
I'm here decrying the lack of the $40 million, theatrical release. But I will say I'm super excited for $200 million Dune.
Yeah, dude, Denis Villeneuve, the dude's awesome. He made Blade Runner 2049 and Prisoners. Like, dude's awesome. And he started from movies like Enemy, like tiny films. Now he's blowing up. But yeah, sorry, I digress. I got on my soapbox.
Yeah.
That was my long way of saying like, they'll keep making movies.
For sure. Yeah. No, there's lots of gems out there like a Limitless still coming out for sure. There's no doubt.
And it's a good cable movie. Good cable movies keep getting played on cable. So you make a good movie and people keep watching it. Problem solved. But all right, cool. Well, I just ranted a lot. I don't know, but I appreciate you joining me, man.
Hey, this was a blast. Thanks so much for doing this film with me. I really appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon.
Prestige next.
Oh, which is interesting because Prestige, we're talking The Illusionist earlier. So those two movies came out the same year, did they not?
Yeah. They came 2011, Prestige.
So I really like Neil Berger. Just watched The Upside the other day and really enjoyed it as well.
Oh, wait. Prestige was 2006. Oh yeah, so was The Illusionist. Okay,
yeah, sorry. Yeah. So the thing I will say is, I like The Illusionist as well. I'm a huge Norton guy, and like Neil Berger. I got to say, in terms of the dueling magician movies of 2006, give me The Prestige all day long.
Because that's one of my favorite Nolan films. I love it. It's a good mystery. Yeah. It's fun. It's good to watch twice. I mean, it had a much larger budget. Like, Berger wasn't trying to make a Prestige.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. I mean, we could just start a Prestige podcast right now, but
it's one of those Deep Impact, Armageddon, Prestige, Volcano, Dante's Peak. I think Illusionist got lost a little bit in the shuffle.
A little bit.
Well, appreciate you joining me, dude.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, for Phil Briggs, this is Movie Stones of Flicks. We'll see you next week.